Hello everybody, welcome to this week's video. So in today's video we are going to check how to make the workflow in Ableton lightning fast. So for that we're gonna see a couple of tips that I have, and let's just get to it. So first of all, the most important thing is that you remember a bunch of key shortcuts. That is super important, and I'm gonna teach you what are the most important ones that I like. So first of all, imagine that I have a set here that I just pull out. So imagine that I want to work in this area. I just want to work in this area just to check this transition. I could, zoom in by doing, pinch and zoom. That is possible, but a better way to do that, because you are much more precise, is to highlight the area where you want to work and press Z. If you press it once, it will go horizontally, and if you press it twice, it will also go vertically. Now you can do so much precise movement with that. So for example, you could just go here. Alright, so now let's go to tip number 2. Imagine that I've been working in this area and now things are big. How can I go back to where I was? So very cool one. If you press H and W, it will match the whole set into the view, and that is pretty useful when you want to get a general perspective of the set. It makes things much faster. Now let's go to the next one. Double click and put a MIDI clip right there. If you see, this MIDI clip is gonna match to the side of the grid that is in that moment. If I want the grid to be smaller or bigger, I could press Command and then 1 if I want it smaller, or 2 if I want it bigger. So if I now add another clip, now the clip will be bigger. That is also useful for moving them if you have it matched to the clip. Also, you can do that in the MIDI note editor. You can also, so you make the grid bigger or smaller by pressing these 2 buttons. If you want triplets, you can press 3 and now it becomes triplets. It really changed the way I use Ableton when I learned about it. Now in the MIDI editor, you have the draw mode. You can turn it on or off by pressing the key B for Barcelona. Now you are in draw mode, so you can draw notes. If you, let's say that you want to edit all the D4 notes, you can do that by pressing D4 in the piano roll, and then all these notes will be highlighted. And you can exit drawing mode, and then you can move them up or down. You can also, by the way, highlight the scale by selecting this toggle box. You can highlight the scale or not. In this case I have C major, so if I press here, then I won't highlight the scale, but if I press it, then I will see the notes of the scale highlighted in the whole grid, and that's quite useful if you're playing in the scale. There are so many more features in the MIDI editor, but I'm just trying to teach you now the ones that I think will make you faster. If there are some features that you want me to have a look at, just please let me know in the comments. By the way, if you're liking this content, please subscribe to my channel, because I put up a new video every Friday. Alright, so let's go to the next tip to increase your productivity. Let's say that you want to be working in this area with these audio clips, and then, as I told you before, you press Z. Alright, now you are there. But if you press play, it will keep going, and that is not what you want. You want to be working in this area, so you want to be looping around here. You probably know that you can put this in the area that you want to work on, and you can press this button. That is always an option. But something that is faster is to select the area, just like so, and then you press Command L, and it will loop only that area. Now, this is gonna be looping, and if you want to exit this, you can either press this button, or you can press Command L. That applies also if I select this, and I press Command L, it will only loop that, and that is quite useful. If you wanna play something only once, and you don't want it to keep going, you can select it, highlight it, just like this, and you can press Option Play, and it will only play once and stop. As you see, if I just press play, it will keep going. So that is also quite useful. Now, if you want to, let's say, move this not into the grid, you can always make the grid bigger or smaller, as I told you before, but it will be snapping to the grid. If you don't want it to snap to the grid, what you can do is to press Command and then move it, and then as you see, it's not snapping to any grid. You can put it anywhere. So in case you have something that you want to be offbeat, or you want to make it sound very organic, that is something that you can always use. Now, you probably know this is very common, but somehow took longer than I expected to discover it in Ableton. You know, when I wanted to, let's say, copy this audio clip and paste it here, I will copy, Command C, and then select what I wanted to paste and then paste. That works. But something faster that works kind of in every single piece of software is pressing Option and then just doing the same thing. So you doing that, you duplicate it. I mean, pretty common, but maybe it's my fault, but it took me a while to learn that. And when I learned it, I was like, why the hell didn't I try this before? You know, I didn't really discover it. It was just somehow by intuition, but then I was like, oh crap, this works in Ableton as well. The way all the controls that I'm saying, if you have a Windows machine, you can do the same thing by pressing Control. Something that will increase your productivity so much is to use your own presets. For example, right here, I have my own presets. I call them Paco's presets. I try to leave it kind of narrow because the whole point of having that is to not have to scroll through it too much. So I try to have it, a little bit narrow and only put the things that I really use in every single set. Some utilities for mixing, hats, snares, kicks. I really like using this preset thing because it takes me so much less time to go back to the whole list. By the way, if you want to look for something in the list, you can look for it not only in sound, drums, instruments, you can look for it in any folder. You press Command F, you probably know that. But now in Ableton 12, you have this awesome tag system that you can narrow down your search so much. This is pretty useful and it has increased my productivity quite a lot in Ableton. I also recommend that you have a template to start working with. So for example, in my case, let's say that I want to open an empty set. I don't want to save it. I already have a drum kit with my own samples that I know I like. I have set some controls that I use quite a lot, like the tune of the kick, the snare, how punchy it is, and like some basic things that even it might not be in the last part of the track, it helps start going when I open it up. So let's say that, for example, this track I would like to call it, by the way, if you want to rename a track, you Command R, and then I want to call this voice, and I want it to be a voice track, my own preset for voice enhancer. So then I go here, I drag and drop it, and let's say that also to that I want to add auto shift, press Command F, auto shift, and then I add it here. By the way, for example, if I wanted to have this as a preset now, it's pretty simple. Just drag and drop it back here. And then you can rename it for example, voice enhancer auto shift. And it's saved as a preset, and if you, let's say, go to an empty track and put it back, then it's the same thing. So that's very useful, and that's how you create presets. Alright, so I'm gonna put this, let's say, in the effect track. And now I want to save this. Let's say that instead of having that, I'm gonna have this one instead, voice enhancer. So now I want to save this one as a template instead. So what I will do is to file, then save live set as template. And now that will be my default template. And now you select it, right click, set default live set. So now if I open a new live set, that will be the one that I open. And as you see, now this is a default template. And that is very, very useful because it makes you keep going much easier. If you get presented with this, you don't even know where to start. Like, what instruments are you gonna use? What samples are you gonna use? So using a basic idea starter template is super useful for productivity. Just keep that in mind. I think those are good tips to keep your productivity in Ableton up. Please let me know in the comments if you agree, if I missed something that you think I should have included. I'm always trying to look for ways to make my music faster and more efficient because, all the friction that you have looking for presets, finding the right sound, navigating Ableton unnecessarily is time that is lost. So if you can have like a streamlined process to approach your music making process, that will make things much easier and you will release more tracks and your tracks will be better. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments any other tips that you might have, and see you in the next one.